Hi, my name is Sanrdra mcclard, and I'm going to present to you a summary from each model this semester in professional communications in which I find very beneficial for my future as a physician's assistant. Starting off with the table of contents from Module 1 to Module 12, along with the resources I have used in this presentation. Starting off with Module 1, Basics of Communication, 4 rules of communications that I found very important is to be polite and professional in communications. You should avoid assigning tasks to people who are not direct reports to make sure the task gets completed and finished properly. Also, the third communication rule is to remember that not every communication one sends will reach its target. For instance, if you were to send a voicemail or an email, it may not get properly delivered due to accidental deletion or sent to spam, and they may never get it. You want to be patient, but not too patient. Patient plays a key role in communications, and you want to be very patient. For instance, in my future as a physician's assistant, you want to take time to spend with your patient and not just hurry in there and get out and not even spend any time and they don't know up from down what you discussed. Communicating in a group setting is very important, for instance, in a group project, which we had to do earlier in the semester. It is important to make sure all members of the group understand and agree on the group project. For instance, you could do a face-to-face meeting or video conference and teleconference meetings, which you could communicate your roles as in the group project. I found very important status reports. Status reports are a great way to keep updated in the business or your company. Status reports are very important updates on a work-given project. As my future as a physician's assistant, I will have to print or produce status reports to make sure I stay on task with patient load and not getting behind. Moving on, basics of grammar in communication. Grammar lays the groundwork on why grammar is so important. It's just as grammar makes written content more readable and in turn interesting. How is grammar useful in the real world? Well, grammar skills are useful in every aspect of life, from education, leadership, social life, employment opportunities. Grammar skills are very important for my future goal in physician assistant due to giving patient proper handouts for instructions, wound care, skin protection. You want to make sure your grammar skills are up to date. Overview of communication in the workplace. The first bullet point, the 5 steps to manage and resolve conflict in the workplace. You want to identify a safe place time to talk. You don't want to do it in the open in front of everybody. You want to make sure the person has privacy. Clarify individual perceptions involved in the conflict. You want to make sure everyone who was involved in the conflict are present. That way you can discuss it properly. Practice taking an active and empathetic listening stance. You want to make sure you care and they understand that you care to resolve the conflict. Generate options with the vision of a win-win outcome. You want to make sure each party feel like they have won and the resolved conflict is resolved. Develop an agreement that will work for all. You want to make sure not one person got unfair treatment versus the other. The importance of effective communication in the workplace. It is very important to make sure you have effective communications in the workplace, and the 4 types is body language and facial expressions. Phone conversations, you want to make sure you have proper phone etiquette. Written communication or verbal communication. These are great ways to communicate effectively in the workplace, and you want to make sure they are very well thought out and compassionate. Teamwork in the workplace. You really want to make sure that you have a great team and you want to make sure they all agree. 5 important conditions that lead to a group or team effectiveness. Clear in engaging directions. Facilitate group structures. support organization texts, available expert coaching, adequate materials and resources. These are a great way to run a team and make sure it's effective. Making good decisions depends on performing communication functions during discussion. It is very important to make sure you have great communication skills and they are properly communicated. Stages for developing group and team concepts in the workplace. It is very important to have this starting with the forming stage. Then this will form and discuss the project at hand, which is the very first stage. The second is the storming stage, and this is varying ideas and techniques that are common when working with a group or team. Storm up ideas. The third stage is the norming stage, and it is where the group and team members adapt to their new responsibilities and make sure they understand them. The performing stage is very important to make sure your performer understands what he is to perform and the project. The adjourning stage is the end of it, and your team goes their own separate ways at the adjourning stage. Writing in the workplace. The 5 most common types of business documents are emails and memorandums, which are the most common, business letters, business reports, transactional reports, financial documents. These all play a key role in my future as a physician's assistant to make sure I can properly email, produce transactional reports to make sure I'm staying on track and producing enough money for my company, keeping up with my patient load. I found very common in the 10 most common business writing mistakes, which is no excuse in doing this, which are typos, poor punctuation, and grammatical errors. I know we can all get in a hurry, but it is very important to pay attention and proofread. Management speak and buzzwords, forgetting the reader, long words and elaborate phrases, complex sentences, poor planning, failing to make an impression, too much text, abbreviations, and being vague. It is very important to improve on these. Memos, emails, and cover letters, these are where these are happening the most, and it is very important to improve this. In my future, I would send a lot of emails to providers to make sure, and you don't want them full of the 10 most common writing errors. Technology in the workplace is very important in my future as a physician's assistant and to make sure I stay up to date on technology. The importance of graphic and visual aids are very beneficial, for instance, in meetings and to be able to produce visual aids of pictures, drawings, posters, or charts. Choosing the correct visual aids, for instance, we use a lot of line graphs to make sure we are staying on track and I'm keeping up with my patient load and I'm not falling behind. These are all great visual aids as tables, flowcharts, pie charts, whichever are easier for your business. The millennial expectation of technology in the workplace is very important. You want to stay up to date on technology because it's not going anywhere and it is on the rise. For instance, for me, I would need to be on an iPad, make sure I'm up to date, can maneuver around the medical portion of it. The midterm module was very great way to meet my people in my class. I was the group leader in our midterm module where we did a group project, and the synthesizer was gathering the information where he passed it along to the designer to design the PowerPoint, and the scriptwriter made it presentable for the presenter to present our project. Tasks for each of the group members were distributed among us, and this was a timeline where week 1, the synthesizer gathered the information, week 2, the designer did her part, week 3, the scriptwriter got with the presenter to present our project. And this was a great way to work together as a team. Public speaking. The importance of public speaking is very important and a good role to get to produce yourself, get to know other people, and this is a great way for me to benefit in my future to, for instance, present at Skin Cancer Conference where I'll have to get with and present my case in front of people. And you want to make sure you are a great speaker, you can present to the audience, and to deliver your message. Channel, interface, and get feedback. You want to be a great public speaker. Strategies for becoming a great, better speaker is to practice, practice, practice. You want to make sure you practice and know your info. You don't want to get up there and forget, read off a script. It is very important to practice and know what you're speaking about. This is very beneficial for my future, and I've had a great chance in this class to get better at it. Conducting effective meetings are very important, and I on the side listed a example business agenda meeting in which are great ways to present in a meeting to make sure you stay on task, target. Preparing the participants. You want to prepare for a meeting before a meeting. You don't want to get to the meeting and then later prepare for your meeting that you don't know what you're going to discuss. Preparing for a meeting and conducting a meeting is very beneficial, and you want to make sure that you conduct it right and get your point across. That is why it's a great way to have a business meeting agenda. That way you can stay on task and everyone can follow. This is a great way for my future to stay and present a business agenda meeting and present for my physicians. Career planning. I listed a few interview tips which I could use for my future to interview and to improve my performance. Practice good nonverbal communications. Dress for the job. Listen. Don't talk too much. Don't be too familiar. Use appropriate language. Don't be too cocky. That would not be a very good situation at all. Take care to answer questions. Ask questions. And don't appear desperate. Why do I need a resume? It is very important to have your resume so your business can look at your past job history, make sure you're appropriate for the job, check your academic career out. What are employments looking for? They're making sure you are dependable. You don't go from job to job. You want to make sure that your employer is looking what they want. You want to be a great employee for them to get what you want as a job. Factors affecting communication. How culture controls communication and the globalization of communications are very important for, professional communications. You want to make sure you are culture adequate. You understand globalization in communications. These are all great ways to have in your future, as for instance in the healthcare. Globalization and culture plays a key role. You want to avoid biased language, avoiding gender bias, all that. You don't want to be in a judgmental perspective, especially in the healthcare field. Persuasive communications, macro theories and model persuasion, the elaboration likelihood model and the heuristic synthetic model, attitude change theories, the cognitive consistency theory, social judgment theory, cognitive dissonance theory, and the persuading the audience and the audience. You want to make sure you persuade your audience and get what you want to them and deliver it. Great ways, sequential persuasion and the future of persuasion research are all very beneficial in presenting this. In physician's assistant, where I would present at skin cancer, I would want to persuade my audience in the skincare treatment. It is very beneficial to persuade your audience. Challenges and opportunities for communication. 8 elements of the rhetorical situation: excience, persons, relations, location, speaker, audience, method, systems, and intuitions. You want to avoid biased language, avoid gender bias, gender stereotypes, and avoid gender age bias. You do not want to do this in the healthcare. There's all kinds of stereotypes. This is the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I listed my resources here. I am greatly appreciated that you took the time to listen to my presentation. And my future as a physician's assistant is a great way to take this class and use this for my future in professional communications. Thank you.